Hello and welcome back to the Podcasting Problem Solver. I'm Leah Bryant, and today's episode is a little different. This episode is part of Podcasthon 2026, which is a global podcasting event where shows just like this one use their platform to raise awareness for a cause that matters to them. And today, mine matters to me personally. I'm going to tell you a story. It's my story, one that I don't share often because I'm still kind of in awe of everything that happened. It involves a Thursday morning where I woke up and I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. Emergency surgery, 30 days in a recovery wing in the hospital, and we're learning how to do life. And a diagnosis most people, including a lot of doctors, have never heard of. By the end of this episode, you'll know what Cauda Equina Syndrome is, why it matters, and how one foundation is working to change the reality for people living with it, including me. So it all started with back pain, which, if you've ever had it, you know, it's the kind of thing that you just brush off. Heck, I brushed it off. I went to the doctor on a Monday. They then scheduled me to have a steroid injection the following week to help with whatever disc issue was going on. And I thought that was that. But Thursday of that same week, I woke up in excruciating pain. I couldn't drive, I couldn't function, I couldn't do anything. I was in so much pain. So I did the sensible thing. I called in sick, right? I took some medication that the doctor had given me, and I went back to sleep in hopes that when I woke up from my nap, that all would be well. Well, when I woke up from that nap, all was not well. I couldn't feel anything from the waist down. Now, the logical thing to do in that moment, and I'm sure what any rational person would do in that moment, would be to call 911. I mean, I know that. I knew that. But here's what really happened. I called my parents, who were an hour and a half away in Kentucky. And my dad, bless his heart, picks up the phone. I explain the situation, and he goes, "Why are you talking to me right now and not 911?" And I said, and I will fully stand by this, "Dad, I don't have any pants on. I am in pajamas. Listen, I am a modest person. I wasn't about to have paramedics show up without being somewhat put together." So I waited. My mom came and pants were successfully secured. Then we called 911. At the ER, while talking to the team, a nurse quietly takes a tiny needle and presses it into the bottom of my foot. I don't react, at all, because I couldn't feel anything. And I remember watching her face change in that moment. Then it was off to an MRI. So the neurosurgeon that was on call, he called in after looking over the MRI results. And he said, "Prep her for surgery. I am on my way." So, emergency surgery to decompress a disc that had slipped directly into my spinal cord. It was my L4 and L5, which is at the base of your spine. Now, when I woke up the next day, my surgeon said two things. First, had you waited 6 more hours, you would have been permanently paralyzed. Man, 6 hours. I guess waiting on those pants was okay. But the second thing he said was, "I don't know if you'll ever walk again. Nerve damage at that level is unpredictable. I've done everything that I can, and the rest is up to God." And then he left the room. I, at that point, was in my early 30s, single, living life. And I was fresh out of emergency surgery, just hearing all of that from a very highly recommended and admired neurosurgeon in the city. And I said to myself, well, you don't know me, buddy, because I'm pretty stubborn, and you don't know God. So I think that we've got this. Now, a couple days later, he handed me a packet of papers, and on the front, I remember it said Cauda Equina Syndrome. And I was like, why is he handing me papers that's talking about horses? But my mom looked at it at the same time that I did, and without saying a word, she took it, put it in a drawer, and closed the drawer. And she said, we're going to look at that later. Let's focus on right now. And that was the beginning of my recovery. I spent about 30 days in the recovery wing of the hospital, relearning to do things that you really don't expect to have to learn again as an adult, like how to sit up, how to transfer from a bed to a wheelchair, how to shower seated, how to help yourself stand while you're focusing on not trying to fall and brush your teeth at the same time. It's like the small things that you do every single day without even thinking. And suddenly, every single one of them was a goal for me. Was every day easy? Oh, no, it was not. There was a morning that they found that I had MRSA in my back. And then they found a blood clot in one of my legs, literally the next day. And I remember asking the nurse after they told me about the blood clot to close the blinds, turn off the lights, and just give me the afternoon because I needed to feel all of that. I needed to cry and ask why. And of course, be a human being who is going through something really, really hard. But in truly a fashion, I got back up and I went to physical therapy. I listened to worship music. I make jokes with the nurses. And apparently all of that surprised a lot of people. That someone in my situation at my age could still laugh about all that was happening. But that was just me leaning into the only thing that I knew how to lean into. So the progression of wheelchair to walker, walker to cane, and a year later, my neurosurgeon looked at me walking in with that very same cane and said, "Do you really need that?" And let me tell you, something just clicked in my brain. I had let that cane become a security blanket. So I did what any person would do who is super stubborn and doesn't like to be asked things like that. I went home and I furniture surfed my apartment. I practiced walking without any assistance. And then when I got comfortable doing that at my house, I went to work and furniture surfed around there. And after a few months of working really hard with that, I didn't need that cane anymore. Yes, I still have partial paralysis from the waist down. And yes, I live with nerve damage every single day and pain, but I walk. And for that, I am so dang grateful. So, what did happen to my body? Well, let me explain because most people, and a lot of doctors for that matter, have never heard of this. At the very base of your spine, there is a bundle of nerves that kind of fans out below the spinal cord. And because of the way that this bundle of nerves looks, it's called Cauda Equina, which is Latin for horse's tail. See where we came in with the horse? So when those nerves are compressed from a slipped disc or an injury or even a tumor, the result is Cauda Equina Syndrome, or it can be. And the damage it causes is very, very serious. We're talking bladder and bowel incontinence, leg weakness, sexual dysfunction, chronic pain, partial and full paralysis. These are not minor side effects. These are life-altering, permanent conditions for many of the people living with this, including me. So here's the part that really gets me. Cauda Equina Syndrome is misdiagnosed most of the time. Most of the time, patients walk in with severe back pain and they walk out with a diagnosis of general back strain. And by the time the correct diagnosis is made, permanent damage has already occurred. So that 6-hour window my surgeon referenced, that's the reality of CES. It is a medical emergency, and early detection, as well as early intervention, are the difference between partial recovery and permanent disability. And here's what makes it even harder. Even when patients do get the surgery, the research on what comes next is incredibly limited. Treatment in the post-surgical phase is basically, just manage your symptoms. Thanks, have a great day. Because there isn't enough research to guide anything more targeted than that. There is no known cure. There is only early action. And that's why I want to tell you about the Cauda Equina Foundation. They are a 501c3 nonprofit with one mission: to improve the quality of life and care for people living with Cauda Equina Syndrome. And their vision goes further. They want to eradicate the devastating neurological damage this condition causes. I mean, that's a bold vision, but it's the right one. Because right now, too many people are misdiagnosed. Too many are left without treatment guidance after surgery. And too many are trying to figure out how to show up for their jobs and families and in their relationships with a condition that the medical community still doesn't really fully understand. The foundation is working to change that. And I'm proud to use this episode and my platform to point you in their direction. Whether you want to learn more, connect with their community, or support their work, I'll put the link in the show notes and description for you. And I want to leave you with something. I think a lot about the fact that I almost didn't make it to the ER in time. Because if you think about it, 6 hours is such a thin margin of time. And I think about people who don't make it in time because they were told it was just quote unquote back pain. So if nothing else, I hope this episode plants a seed. If you or someone you love has sudden, severe back pain accompanied by any loss of sensation or function below the waist, that is an emergency. Get to an ER, please. Advocate loudly. Say the words. Is this Cauda Equina Syndrome? Knowing that name could change everything for you or your loved one. And if you're already living with this, I see you, friend. Please reach out to me on Instagram and let's become friends. I would love to talk with you and support you any way that I can. The adjustment is real. That grief is real. But so is the capacity to build a life that feels like yours again. It looks different than you planned. I know mine does. But it's still full and it still has purpose. And there are people like the Cauda Equina Foundation who are working so hard that your road is a little less lonely than it might have been before. Thank you for being here for this special episode. Thank you for listening, and thank you for caring about the things that matter. And share this episode if it moved you, because someone in your world might need to hear it. I'll see you next time. Take care.